Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show. As our national picks on Friday. Bill Landis, we have not been good. We'll cover that later. Let's dive into the game of the week. It's Oregon at Penn State. We're going to make 6 picks on this show, but let's get to the game that matters the most, I think, for obviously the lead in the Big Ten, the perception of the Big Ten nationally. How important do you think this primetime Oregon at Penn State game is on Saturday night?
Yeah, it's pretty important. But I do feel like Oregon and Penn State are getting a decent amount of respect, right? So I don't know what the conference has to prove on Saturday, provided it's just a good game. Like if somebody gets run off the field, then maybe that would be an issue for the perception of the Big Ten. But I'm not envisioning that happening. So there's the narrative involved with it, right? I honestly think on both sides, because Dan Lanning's record in big games is good. It's not great, and we know what James Franklin's narrative is in big games. So there's that on the line. Someone has to lose, but I think as long as both teams sort of look like the top 10 teams that they are, then it's kind of a can't lose situation for the Big Ten. But it would be great if they both went out there and just sort of had a juggernaut kind of slugfest. I think that would also go a long way in helping solidify some perception for the Big Ten.
So you and I are going to be watching this game together. We're going to be doing a live watch along for Ohio State and Washington at 3:30 Eastern on this YouTube channel. And we'll be live during that whole game. Then we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to watch the primetime games. Then we're going to come back at 11 p.m. roughly live on YouTube. That'll also wind up in your podcast feeds to talk about all the big games of the day. We'll double back a little bit on Ohio State, Washington, but we'll dig into Oregon, Penn State. We'll dig into Georgia, Alabama, which we also will be picking later in this show. But you and I think like a lot of the rest of the country, I think are going to be split screening Alabama, Georgia, and Oregon, Penn State. And I am very interested in the quality of those two games. Now, quality sometimes is in the eye of the beholder. Sometimes when the SEC is playing 4-2 slugfest, they can make everybody think that defense is what makes great teams. And then when nobody can play defense and they're making a ton of mistakes and they're playing 45-41 games, they somehow persuade everybody that scoring and big-time offense is the way to go. I think, and because I think this even happened, wasn't it what was the game last year for the SEC that was high scoring and exciting, but I didn't think was well played? It was
Alabama, Georgia.
It was Alabama, Georgia, right? And we came away. Weren't there some people who came away from that game saying that was the national championship game or whatever? And it was you people are drunk.
Because it got crazy in the fourth quarter. Yeah, Alabama ran up on them, and then Georgia stormed back in the fourth quarter. It was nuts and sloppy, but high scoring. Yeah.
Right. And remember how they rematched in the national title game?
Oh, wait, I do. Yeah, we were there. I do remember.
You were there.
Yeah.
So, but there were blown coverages all over the place in that game. And again, we have to remind people what good football can take many shapes. But I think when you think about the skill players in Oregon, Penn State, when you think about Nick Singleton and Katron Allen in the backfield for Penn State, Luke Reynolds, I think, has been a very interesting young tight end for them, a 5-star guy who nobody's Ty Warren, but he is a very reliable target for Drew Aller. Their transfer receivers, they are throwing the ball to them a little bit. They're getting the ball to Trevor Payne in the run game, right? And then you think about what Oregon's doing to Corian Moore as a true freshman at receiver, Malik Benson, the Florida State transfer. They're really not playing Mekhi Hughes much yet, which is kind of weird, but they're still okay in the backfield. And I think a lot of people agree that Kenyon Sadiq is as good as any tight end in the country. So I think there's a chance for the skill players to be good. I do think these are good, solid defenses, right? That I think they both have some guys who can get after the passer. They have some linebackers who can tackle. They have guys who can make play in the secondary. I believe in the ability of the Penn State-Oregon game to look like the better played game with the two better teams. And to me, that is the real battle here, almost beyond who wins Oregon-Penn State. I'll tell James Franklin, hey, James, do you feel like it doesn't matter who wins as long as this game looks better than Bama, Georgia? That's a ridiculous thing to say. But it's just odd, and I know Kirk Herbstreit was kind of complaining about it this week, that these two giant games are going head-to-head in the same time slot. He admitted he was on the SI media podcast. I think he said, like, I'm calling Alabama, Georgia, but I'm going to be half watching Oregon, Penn State because we know where your heart is, Herbie. We know where your heart is. But it is kind of weird, but it presents a rare opportunity because we had round one of this in Texas, Ohio State. The two preseason favorites in the SEC and Big Ten settled it on the field. Now, this is round two with these two games going head to head. I'm intrigued about that. I'm going to be we're going to be sitting on my couch, and you're going to be like, oh, look at the offensive line play there. I'm going to be like, which game do you think looks better? Which game do you think looks better?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to make you angry. Like, I almost don't care. Like, I don't like it's like, you're right. Right. The last year, the Alabama Georgia game, was not like the best played football game anyone's ever seen, but like people are allowed to be entertained, right? Like, so like I get a little mad. Yeah. I get a little upset sometimes at like the way that the media talks about stuff, because I think we sort of have an onus to be like slightly more analytical than just a fan who's sitting down having a beer watching a ball game. But I'm not going to be mad at anybody who thought Alabama Georgia was entertaining last year. I thought it was entertaining. I just thought it was kind of sloppy. And it certainly was not a whatever. It did not solidify for me that the SEC or neither of those two teams were the class of college football. So, the optics of Saturday night, I think, matter a little bit. But what do you think the like national perception of those four teams is right now? Because if you asked, I suppose ask media people, if you picked like 10 national college football media people and said rank these four teams, wouldn't Penn State and Oregon both be ranked ahead of Alabama and Georgia?
They would. I think they would.
I mean, they are, but so I don't think like I don't think the Big Ten's fighting or those two teams are fighting any kind of like uphill battle. They just sort of have to like go out there and be the teams that they are, and they'll be fine.
No, I think I am preemptively reacting to the possible reaction. Again, the thing that there was some media reaction to like Bama, Georgia, that sloppy, high-scoring game is as good as it gets.
We'll just take Ari's phone away from him, and then he won't be able. He won't be able to tweet about it.
I cannot live in a world where Saturday night, Sunday morning, we are dealing with Ty Simpson versus Gunnar Stockton. What else do you want? It's like I want a lot. I want a lot more than that. So I believe, and it's, we had a pretty good Oregon Penn State game not that long ago in the Big Ten championship game, right?
Game.
So like,
it was awesome.
I believe in the ability of Oregon and Penn State to rise up and play a very competitive game.
And Ohio State, Oregon played a great game last year too in the regular season. The Rose Bowl was a blowout, but the regular season game was great.
Yeah, I think the Big Ten continues to rise to the challenge. I do think the best teams in the Big Ten continue to rise to the challenge. So my primary wish for this game is that both Oregon and Penn State do that, right? You just can't have Drew Aller just hitting linebackers in the chest with passes, right? You can't have Dante Moore, trying to make a play and just like dropping the ball in the pocket, right? Like that kind of thing. You can't have guys in the secondary falling down and leading to gigantic. You can't have huge blown coverages. You want guys making plays. Drew Aller, the Penn State quarterback, is 2 of 8 on throws of 20 yards down the field this season, which is by far the least in the Big Ten. It's I don't know exactly what to make of it. He's thrown the ball. He's only played 3 games, but he's 2 of 8 on passes of 20 yards or more, according to PFF. Mark Gronowski of Iowa in 4 games is 3 of 8. Julian Sand from Ohio State has only thrown 9, but he's 9 of 9. Dante Moore of Oregon is 9 of 16 down the field, 20 yards or more. Ethan Kaliak-Manis of Rutgers is 11 of 23. Malik Washington, the freshman from Maryland, is 10 of 19. Jaden Maeva from USC is 11 of 17. 2 of 8 down the field, and one of them was kind of almost like a jump ball into the end zone that Devontae Ross made like a one-handed, pretty amazing catch on that wasn't exactly deep ball perfection. Do you think Penn State is slow playing anything? Do you think this offense is still sputtering? I have real questions based on the first 3 games of the ability of Penn State offensively to keep up with Dante Moore and Decorian Moore and everything, Kenyon Sadiq, everything Oregon's doing.
Yeah, I don't know. James Franklin was asked a little bit about that idea, I think twice, like in the last week or so, and kind of said like teams don't really do that, which I don't think is true. Like of course you keep a little something in your back pocket when you know a game like this is coming, especially when you have the kind of ramp up to it that Penn State has had with its non-conference schedule. So are there things offensively that I think Penn State would like to do that it hasn't done yet that it will do against Oregon? Yeah, I believe that. The other question is Drew Aller's ability to execute it, because like he's not playing awful, but he's not playing well. I was listening to Split Zone Duo, right? They were doing their preview show, and they had our friend Audrey Snyder on at the end to talk about this game. And she said, which I like, she analyzes Penn State football as well as anybody, so I trust her opinion. Penn State like finally has the pass catchers it's been yearning for years, and the quarterback's not playing well. Like that,
yes.
That's a heck of a spot for Penn State to find itself in a season where it's trying to compete for a national championship. So, Drew Aller, I thought probably played, while not perfect, probably played the best game I've seen him play against a good opponent the last time Penn State played Oregon. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's something to rely on if you're a Penn State fan wanting to see him take a step forward. But that is my biggest concern, I think, going into this game is just what are you going to get out of Drew Aller? And if he just plays sort of in line with how he's played this year, can Penn State still win? Maybe, but I would not feel great about that proposition.
Yeah, it's odd. I feel I've been asked on shows about Bo Pribula quarterbacking at Missouri and what that means for Penn State. I actually think one of the maybe a worse sign for Penn State in the transfer portal is that Trey Wallace is at Ole Miss and is 3rd in the SEC in receiving yards. Mm-hmm. And in 4 games at Ole Miss has half as many yards as he had in a whole season at Penn State last year when he was Penn State's leading receiver, not pass catcher. Ty Warren was first, but like it was sort of this thing of, like Penn State doesn't have the receivers to compete. And now he's gone into Ole Miss and he's tearing it up. And then, so it makes me think, like, is it just, because I do think, right, Hudson, Ross, and Pena as the 3 transfers who have come in, they haven't used Ross quite as much, but they're throwing the ball to Hudson and Pena. They're throwing the ball to Luke Reynolds. Drew Aller still looks the most comfortable for me throwing to tight ends. Like he just wants to throw an 8-yard pass to a tight end is what he is most comfortable doing. I can't remember. I didn't watch the opener again this week, but I watched their week 2 and week 3 games in their entirety. And like he had a deep shot that he took down the sideline that he threw completely flat-footed and then underthrew it by like 5 yards. And it just was like, what? Like what was that?
That's the biggest problem with Drew Aller is his footwork. Like, if you want to get technical about it, he has maybe the sloppiest footwork of any quarterback who is considered good in college football, and it's like never improved.
And then he got in a 2-minute drill at the end of the half in one of those games and was on point. When you almost have to shut his brain off and just say, you got to go, you got to go, you got to go, you got to go. And because his ability to rip, feather, rip, feather is there.
Sure.
But he does not look, and again, the conversation, and this is my conversation, and you were smart enough to not have it, but I was just like, oh man, veteran quarterbacks, Cade Klubnik at Clemson and Drew Aller at Penn State and Luke Altmaier at Illinois. 3rd-year starting quarterback. That's where I start my playoff conversation. And it's like, why? And you came into this season, like sort of by default with so many young guys. Hey, who's the best quarterback in the Big Ten? It's Drew Aller. And right now, I don't know if he's in the top 8 of who you would, because he hasn't seemingly taken that next step. And I feel a little bit, I came into this season knowing that Illinois had a lot of people back at key spots, but they couldn't just be who they were. They had veterans, but they needed to take a step. Mm-hmm. And I was basing a lot of my Illinois on taking a step, mostly on the offensive line. And I feel like Drew Aller is like the quarterback version of that. He's been around, he's been solid, but he's got to take a step for them to get where they want to go. And it feels like 3 games in, you're still waiting for the step. And is it going to happen against Oregon? Is like this what's going to be the thing that unlocks it? Because to your point, if he's not really good, I don't know if they can win.
See, I kind of think they still might.
Okay.
And I go back to like how Penn State ran the ball in Oregon last year.
Okay.
Almost 300 yards in that Big Ten championship game. I think it was like 8 yards a carry. And the Penn State rushing game, like the last 2 games, has looked. Katron Allen's playing very well. Nick Singleton's still got to kind of get it going. But the offensive line and the whole rushing operation did look a little better the last 2 weeks. Again, they've not played anybody, FIU and Villanova, right? So take that for what it's worth. But I think this is a game potentially where Penn State could just kind of ride its rushing attack to a win if Drew Aller's not great.
Okay. I do think, and I've gone back and forth on what this means, is Chaz Coleman the most interesting guy in the Big Ten right now? He is a true freshman
really good
edge guy for Penn State. He's an Ohio kid who played some quarterback in high school, and they are putting him opposite Dani Dennis Sutton. He actually has more pressures, according to PFF, than Dani Dennis Sutton so far this year. He leads Penn State with 10. Dani Dennis Sutton has 9.
He's the highest graded pass rusher in the Big Ten, I think.
It's remarkable. And like you can see it. It's like, oh yeah, that guy looks the part, but also he's dropping spin moves on people. He is a true freshman who was not only a defensive player in high school. And it is quite a discovery. And then on one hand, I was like, man, I don't know what that. Here's this great Penn State defense, but you could argue that a true freshman's their best guy. What does that mean? But then I was like, no. The whole point with Ohio State last year was a depth of veteran talent, but their best player was probably a true freshman in Jeremiah Smith. So they still have that. You watch Penn State's defense; they have a bunch of run and chase guys. Right, like they'll, Zion Tracy and Zaki Wheatley and that linebacker core. They just have guys who will track you down and get after it and be physical. And you throw a bubble screen on them, they're going to come up and hit you, right? So they have that foundation. And then, by the way, Zane Durant, Dani Dennis Sutton, they have real dudes up front. But also, here's this true freshman dropping spin moves and getting in quarterbacks' faces consistently. What a bonus that is. That's an elevator. That's how you go from good to great. You bring back a depth of veteran talent and sprinkle in maybe some unexpected young guys. I do think Penn State's defense has a chance to get after it. And Dante Moore, the Oregon quarterback's been great, but then also he hasn't faced a defense like Penn State.
He has not. And I was also looking, so Dante Moore's road starts in his career at UCLA and Oregon are at San Diego State, at Utah, which is a really tough place to play. And also, I think he threw like a pick 6 on the first play of that game. I remember 2 years ago. So San Diego State, Utah, Oregon State, and Northwestern this year are where he's played on the road. So this will be a pretty different experience for him to manage that. And I think Oregon's offensive line has played well and has definitely gelled faster this year than they did last year. Pancho Lalaulu at center is playing excellent. But this is we don't know what playing in the whiteout's like. Like you can be feeling really good about yourself and then get out there and get consumed by the noise, and you got a couple of false starts, and then Dani Dennis Sutton's running past you, and Dante Moore's getting sacked and you're punting, right? So I think there's an opportunity perhaps for Penn State's defensive line to control things a little bit. So I don't think this game is going to be especially high scoring because of that. Because I think 1, Penn State's going to run the ball, and 2, I think Penn State's defense might not allow the kind of explosive plays that Oregon's looking for. You have to remember too, like this is round 3 of Will Stein against Jim Knowles, right? Like, in Eugene last year, Stein got the better of that. Knowles kind of got crossed up a couple times with some wrong calls, and Oregon made him pay for it. And then in the Rose Bowl, Knowles had the upper hand the entire game for the most part. So this is round 3 of that. I'm interested to see how both adjust. Obviously, Knowles with a different team and different personnel, but if you look at like what Penn State's doing defensively, it looks pretty similar to what Ohio State was doing at the end of last season. So that'll be fun as well. So there's not going to be much in the way of like surprises, I think, for either team here. But Chaz Coleman, to circle back, is sort of like a new guy who's been kind of dropped in. But like Oregon has Oregon's defensive tackles are new and good.
Yep.
Amari Washington's really
well.
good. Like Bear Alexander, I think has flashed, which like was what he tends to do. Mateo Uyunglele is playing great this year. And I know there's some concerns like on the right side of Penn State's offensive line. So there could be chances for both pass rushes to get after it. Which makes me think that maybe not as pointsy as you might expect from two teams that are ranked this high.
All right. Oregon is getting 3.5 points as the underdog in this game. Who are you taking?
I've gone back and forth. Was pretty confident all offseason that Penn State would win. When the game started this year, Oregon has just looked better week to week than Penn State has. I I'm not a betting expert. From a betting perspective, I really like the 3.5 for Oregon. I would take that, but I'm going to pick Penn State to win.
Okay.
Because I actually do. I think the run game is what gets them there. I have Penn State 28-27.
Okay. You have Penn State 28-27. I have Oregon 27-26. So all that analysis for us to pick ties, and they tied. I've been talking about Drew Aller, and it felt like, right, all the momentum. Penn State had all the offseason momentum. Oregon and Ohio State have seized the in-season momentum for the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, you know what? Now maybe it's swung back, that it's like, we're all in on Penn State. Now we're all out on Penn State because they haven't played anybody and they haven't looked great. But maybe we're overdoing it. Like, what's wrong with us? Why are we out on Penn State? Just because they won 3 games against inferior opponents. Let me go back and double check. And then I went back and double checked, and I was like, no, actually, no. My fears about Penn State are warranted. He just is. He's just missing throws. He's just at times not looking confident. And then at times he does. And then at times it clicks and it's like, that's it. And then they come back the next drive and it's like, that is not it. And it's just as the veteran guy in the Big Ten. So I don't think this is an end all be all game. I do think if Penn State loses, there will be a temptation for some to analyze it as like, that's it. James Franklin still can't win the big game. It's done. But I don't think that's the case. I think Oregon's very good, but I think there's a chance that people overreact to a Penn State loss here if it happens.
I think that's right. The people will. I don't know that I think you're right that they will. I probably would feel that it's off base, but if you consider the context of the season, it's like, we know what Penn State can do and has done. Like, this is sort of the next step. It's actually funny that because it's usually like top 5 for James Franklin, right? Which is just like when he plays Ohio State. And Oregon's like right on the outside of that, so he wouldn't even get credit for beating Oregon. It's the same kind of game. I would give him credit for it. Did you know, by the way, that this is only going to be Dan Lanning's 4th true road game against a ranked team as a head coach?
No, I did not know.
So that. he's 1-2. He won at Utah in 2023, lost at Washington, and lost at Oregon State. I think his first year. And they played Georgia in Atlanta in his first game, and they lost that game too. That's not a true road game, but if you count that, he's 1-3 on the road against ranked teams.
That's baby Dan, though. This is now he's teenager Dan. That's baby Dan.
It's less about the record for me. Yeah, it's less about the record for me and more about just like the lack of experience in those kind of games.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Yeah. All right, so that's our first pick. We have 5 more picks to take, but first we want to remind you that there is some great apparel available for you at rowback.com. I do think especially, and they have so many different teams there. It's a game day collection of college football, right? Mm-hmm. And I do think sometimes for instance, was looking at the Illinois collection just a little bit. Now, some of the things in the Illinois collection are sold out, but they're coming back. They're on order. So you might want to get in there now to maybe get ready for when the stuff is available again, because I think people are so fired up about Illinois. But they have a lot of these little shirts, Landis, where it has the mini logo of the team that's almost so small from afar. it just looks like dots or plaid. And then when you get in tight, it's like, oh, it's my team. And it's kind of like a festive little thing. And so if your team's down, like Illinois might be right now, it's like a little pick-me-up. But if your team's going great, it's like maybe you're not trying to brag too much. It's a humble brag. And people are like, oh, that's a cool shirt. Is that orange and blue? Oh, wait. Those are little eyes, right? I like shirts like that. The closer you get, the more information you get. So the game day collection, they have the polos like that. They have the cool like regal stripe on the quarter zips, which I think are really cool. They have the hoodies, and we're going to give you a code. This is going to get you 20% off your first order at rhoback.com. It's RHOBACK.com. Put in the code BAD20. You'll get 20% off your first order. Again, just go peruse it. Go check out this game day collection of stuff and see what you think. BAD20. 20% off your first order at Rhoback, RHOBACK.com. All right, so that was the 7:30 p.m. game. We wanted to get to that early, Landis, because it's kind of important for what we're doing here. Yep. It's a big one. Now let's go back to noon, which is also like a really important game and just an odd game because this is Notre Dame at Arkansas, and it is only a 4.5-point spread. It's two teams with two losses, but it really does matter. And at first blush, Arkansas is coming off losses to Ole Miss, which was a touchdown game, and Memphis, which is a 1-point game. And it's like, why is Notre Dame only favored by 4.5 against Arkansas? But Taylon Green for Arkansas, the former Boise State quarterback who transferred a couple years ago, he's throwing for like 300 yards a game and rushing for 90 yards a game. And it's like, oh, Taylon Green, is he going to win the Heisman? So and the Notre Dame defense continues to be a mess. They're going to get a little bit healthier. I think Leonard Moore is still like an unsure, the great sophomore corner for them. If he's going to play in this game, they're going to get some other guys back. Devontae Smith in the slot, who was out for the Texas A&M game. And it really mattered when Texas A&M threw all over them. Like Purdue hung around more against Notre Dame, I think, than people would have expected last week. But I think that's maybe a little bit more of a credit to Purdue. But obviously, every game is a must-win game for Notre Dame at this point. Like, do you have any concerns about Notre Dame for this one?
Yeah, I do, because I don't know what to expect from Notre Dame's defense, right? Like, it's odd to me. I'm like scrolling through these games now. I think this game, the total is 63.5, which I think is tied for the highest total this week, which is like a crazy thing to think about, given what we thought about Notre Dame's defense coming into the year. But Notre Dame has not really shown an ability to stop anyone other than Purdue. So, and even that was like, they didn't shut them out. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about Notre Dame here. Arkansas did just lose to Memphis. So like, I don't think Arkansas is a great team, but they can put it on you offensively. So this turns into a shootout. The crowd gets into it with Notre Dame on the road. It's the first time these two teams have ever played, which is kind of surprising to me. So like that combined with being on the road and potentially going back and forth is not a spot that I would love to be in if I were Notre Dame. So yeah, I'm a little worried.
And it is like right in the wrong window for Notre Dame, that if they beat 2-2 Arkansas, they're not going to get that much credit for it, as opposed to if Arkansas had beaten Ole Miss, right? This would maybe then be a game that could help Notre Dame's resume. So if they win, they won't get any credit, but they could lose. Like, Arkansas is good enough to beat Notre Dame. So congratulations to the Fighting Irish for being just like in having everything kind of working against them so far this year. So
I guess the one thing that is working in Notre Dame's favor is that Arkansas wants to fire its head coach. So,
well, that is
like yet again.
Yet again. Yeah.
And its offensive coordinator is staging a coup, apparently. So.
Oh yeah, the call's coming from inside the house. Bobby Petrino might take over the Arkansas program at halftime. I am the captain now. He's gonna I am the captain now, Sam Pittman. Yes. It's like, hey, where's Coach Pittman? It's like Bobby Petrino locked him in the bathroom. Bobby Petrino's coaching the second half. Revenge game for Chris Ash, Notre Dame defensive coordinator, former Arkansas defensive coordinator. Oh, that's right. That's the main storyline. Forget about all this other stuff. The Chris Ash revenge game. I am going to take Notre Dame. I'll take Notre Dame 33-24.
I am also taking Notre Dame 38-31. So cover for the Irish.
Okay, even more. Yeah, me too. A little more of a shootout for you. So that's in the noon window. Also in the noon window is Illinois, Arkansas, and I just not Illinois, Arkansas, Illinois, USC. It's USC at Illinois, noon on Fox. USC is favored by 6.5 in this game. It's actually up to 7 now. It was 6.5 when we started doing it. Up to a full touchdown for Illinois, and we have gone from USC is sort of an interesting possible trap game in between the Indiana and Ohio State games for Illinois to is Illinois going to be in the midst of like a month-long losing streak before we know what's happening. They are getting healthy in the secondary. Brett Bielema was saying, I guess on his Wednesday radio show, they think at least like three defensive backs will be back. At the end of last week when they lost Indiana, he said like 6 of their top 7 defensive backs for that game. Miles Scott got ejected for targeting, so he'll be back for this one. Xavier Scott is still out. He's their best defensive back. That just stinks. I don't want to be out on Illinois, but it's hard not to watch what happened last week and not completely be out on Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, they got blitzed, and we're in a terrible spot just sort of personnel-wise to try to contend with what Indiana was going to do. I think there's a chance they bounce back, right? It's a big spot for the program. Like even Bielema was talking about that. Like it is big noon, right? Like there's going to be some attention on this game. I think it is still 2 ranked teams. Even if the attention on this game is like, oh, I wonder what USC is about. There's still going to be people. It's still going to be an opportunity, I think, for Illinois to like course correct a little bit and remind people that maybe there's still a team that can. I don't know if you can make the playoff if you lose by 50, but maybe still win 9 or 10 games. So we'll see. I think USC is not going to have Jacoby Lane. Who's its best receiver. He didn't play last week against Michigan State. His status seems uncertain at best. And it's also a weird like body clock game for USC. And Lincoln Riley was complaining this week about they played the latest kickoff time last week and they're playing at 11 o'clock in the morning this week. That's what the money's for. So, but it is a 9 a.m. kickoff time for USC, which I actually think could matter. So I don't feel great about Illinois, but I actually think they have a shot to win this game.
I do. Do you believe in the blitz? And I think there's 2 things that can really lead to like the blitz being that like it just gets away from you, but it is not truly indicative of who you are. And I think the 2 main things that can go into that are A, it's on the road, which at Indiana last week was, and B, you have some injuries. And then you go home, you get a little healthy, you get your wits about you, and you go back to being closer to who you really are. Now, I also think it's possible, and now I'm just making excuses for Illinois. I'm just like, what a Bielema apologist Leigh Maurice is. I also think I think last week can be a real indication of who Indiana is. Without necessarily being an indication of who Illinois is. Is that possible?
I think that's possible. The other thing, too, and again, it's not excuse making because Indiana outplayed Illinois in every facet. Curt Cignetti wants to put it on you. Like I think a lot of teams would have got to the position that Indiana got to at halftime of that game and just said, like, we got it. Power down. Let's get it home. And Curt Cignetti's like, nope, we're going to score more touchdowns. So then like it just ends up looking way more lopsided than maybe it would have been against almost any other team. The reality of like who outplayed who and by how much would have remained the same, but the optics of the score maybe would have felt a little better for somebody looking at it who didn't actually watch the game. So I don't think that is entirely who Illinois is.
Okay.
So, but I think it's clear that Illinois is not what we thought it might be coming into the season. Like they have offensive line issues, in addition to trying to navigate a banged up secondary. So not better than what they should against Indiana. Yes. Playoff caliber team. I think definitively not, but that doesn't mean they can't beat USC at home.
Illinois +7. I'm taking Illinois 26-24.
Yeah. I'm taking Illinois too. I think they bounce back. I don't know about USC's defense yet. Yeah, I know Illinois' offense is not great, but I think they're going to try to play big, play slow, run it, shorten the game, and combine that with the weird body clock stuff. I'll take Illinois 24-20.
Okay. It's like pure head is I'm off Illinois, but I don't want to abandon a team that I talked about all offseason based on one blitz. And I think the part of this, they were really down to third string guys in the secondary. It's like, if you're in the Big Ten, you need to have good backups. They were down to third string guys who were just getting smoked. So even if they can just have backups, they can have guys who are at least in the two deep, I think that will matter. And also, I don't want to bet on Lincoln Riley. Body clock and Lincoln Riley. I don't want to live in
that
world.
offense is good though. That offense, it's looking like
Jade Maiev is the real deal, right?
Yeah, he's playing really well.
Yeah. Okay, so we both took Illinois last week and they lost by 50. What's the heck? We may as well take him again.
Right.
All right. Next one is Rutgers at Minnesota, also at noon. So 3 kind of noon bangers: Notre Dame at Arkansas, USC at Illinois, Rutgers at Minnesota. Noon on the Big Ten Network. Minnesota at home is favored by 5.5. This is like a real test for Minnesota because Rutgers is like chucking it around, which you have mentioned previously, but what a world, baby. Like that. This is Ethan Kaliak-Mackis and Ian Strong, right? Am I saying the Rutgers receivers, Ian Strong, who's like,
Ian Strong, it was the other KJ Duff and DT Sheffield are the 3 receivers. Yeah.
So they're chucking it around like crazy. I'm waiting for you to pick Rutgers here.
I am picking Rutgers here. Rutgers, by the way, has flipped its entire identity. They're the second worst defense in the Big Ten by yards per play, and the third best passing offense at 304 yards per game. This is not your father's Rutgers, let me tell you.
Wow.
Kaliak-Mackis is playing really well. The receivers are good. The best receivers Rutgers has had since it's been in the Big Ten. And Kaliak-Mackis, I wrote this earlier this week. It might be like Rutgers' best quarterback since Mike Teal. Like it's been a while since Rutgers was in the Big East. So their defense stinks, but their offense is kind of fun. And I think because of that, it's going to get a little high scoring. Cal threw it on Minnesota in that game that Minnesota lost out there. And then last year, Rutgers was not a good offense, and Ethan Kaliak-Mackis' revenge game threw 3 touchdowns against Minnesota and beat them at home last year. And this passing offense is much better this year, and it's in Minneapolis. And Ethan Kaliak-Mackis will exact even more revenge. And Rutgers is going to win 35-31.
35-31 Rutgers. I have Minnesota 31-24. Just to note how crazy Rutgers is throwing it all over the place. Those 3 Rutgers receivers that you mentioned are 1st, 3rd, and 5th in the Big Ten in targets. Yeah. And they're on the same team. KJ Duff, 35 targets, 336 yards. Ian Strong, 31 targets, 367 yards. DT Sheffield, 28 targets, 252 yards. They are chucking it.
They're like a 2008 Big 12 team.
Yeah. But isn't that good coaching? Lean into what you have.
Yeah, lean into what you have. I'm sure. I bet Greg Schiano hates it.
I'm sure.
But yeah, lean into what you have. Yeah,
he can't sleep at night, but you got to win. All right, next one is another like excellent. Just congrats to the Big Ten on just having games that matter, man. Indiana at Iowa, excellent test for the Hoosiers after their big win. 3:30 on Peacock. This line, people believe more and more in the Hoosiers. It was at 7.5 last night. Now Friday morning, as we record, it's Iowa plus 8.5 at home. Phil Parker and that Iowa defense is not going to let Indiana and Fernando Mendoza do what they did to Illinois.
Are you sure?
Well,
that defense is they just let Rutgers do it.
I know, but Phil, man, don't you think Phil? Don't you believe in Phil? No,
I like Phil Parker, but Phil Parker needs dudes, and Phil Parker don't got dudes this year. I think that this is a bad Iowa defense.
No, Xavier Wampa. How about the offensive line? How about Illinois' offensive line got overwhelmed in a way that Iowa's offensive line will not get overwhelmed against Indiana?
Probably.
Look at you. All right. I see who you're.
Iowa stinks, dude. Iowa's bad.
So I now see this is one of the things I thought Iowa would not have a good year, but now here I am, like kind of standing up for Iowa. Let me. So you are in on the 2 people that you are the most in on in the Big Ten this year so far are Kurt Cignetti and Ethan Kaliak-Mackis. Is that fair? Those are your 2 guys.
I would put Arvell Reese on that group too.
Okay.
Those three,
Okay.
yeah.
The big three of Big Ten football.
The big three.
So you think Indiana? Do you think Indiana is going to go in and do what they want again? That Fernando Mendoza is locked in and he's going to pick apart Iowa just like he did Illinois?
I don't think it'll come as easily as it did against Illinois. You have to respect Kinnick a little bit, but also Iowa hasn't beaten a ranked team in 4 years. They've lost their last 10 games to ranked teams, and there's a couple shutouts in there. And I know this offense is better than a lot of those offenses were. And Mark Karnowski's playing better, right? Maybe the 3 rushing touchdowns he had in the win against Rutgers last week will ignite him to be kind of what we thought he might be for this team this year. But their passing offense is still not good. And I think Indiana's defense is very good. And Indiana's offense, I think, will throw it on most teams that it plays. So it won't be a runaway, I don't think. But I still think Indiana wins pretty comfortably.
Okay. What do you have for your score?
30-14.
Ooh, that is comfortable. All right. So that's a smooth cover for the Hoosiers. I'm going to take Indiana, but I'll take Iowa with the 8.5. I'll take Indiana 27-20.
Okay.
It is a little bit of a, so Indiana's off next week and then they go to Oregon. They're flying high, but I just don't know if psychology applies to Curt Cignetti. I think Curt Cignetti is the Terminator of Big Ten football. He's just beat the opponent. I don't care about anything.
He was doing it immediately after Illinois. He's like, I was better than Illinois. He said, they asked him about, I was like, this is a really good team. It's going to be a stiffer test than one we just saw against Illinois. It's like, all right. So yeah. I don't think Indiana is a team that gets overconfident to its own detriment, right? It is the exact right amount of confident in itself.
Yeah.
And we'll probably at some point this year encounter an opponent where that's great, but talent is talent. But I don't think this is that game.
Okay. We have not been great. We have one more game to pick, but I just would like to remind people that this is not a gambling show. It's a pick show. It's to talk ball. It's for fun. Please do not bet your mortgage based on our picks because you are 13-15 against the spread. You were 1-5 last week.
Yeah.
And I had a great week last week. I was 2-4. So which qualifies as a great week for me this year because I am 11-17 against the spread this season. So you are 2 games ahead of me against the spread. And I'm just straight up. I'm only 14-14. You are 16-12 straight up. So what's wrong with us?
Overanalyzing probably.
Yeah. Okay. We're too smart.
Also, I think we're a little. I think we get a little too tied to our priors too. With some stuff, that definitely happened with Illinois, Indiana. Clearly,
yeah. I thought a thing in June, and I do think that maybe I said it last week. If I was ranking, I ignore my priors because I know that I'm an idiot. So I'm not going to go. I'm going to go by what has actually happened. I'm going to go by evidence. If I'm ranking, if I'm part of a poll that matters. But if I'm making my own picks and betting my own $2, I will strap myself to my prior and throw it in the deepest part of the ocean and go down with my prior. Right? And it's like, I still think Illinois is going to be good. Yeah. And the bubbles are coming up. It's like, where's Doug? It's like, oh, he's tied to his Illinois anchor. It's like, aren't they 4-7? It's like, yeah. He won't stop though, because it's what he thought in March. So, yes, it's hard, isn't it? It's difficult too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
We're only doing one SEC game this week. There are other games that I guess people could be enthused about. The goal here is not to pick every single game, right? That is not what we're doing here. So we are not picking Ole Miss versus LSU. We're not picking TCU at Arizona State at 9:00 on Friday night, which is actually a coin toss game. It is super duper important for the top of the Big 12. We're not picking that. Cincinnati at Kansas.
Two good Friday night games because you get UVA Florida State. Florida State Virginia is also Friday.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. No, good luck to Virginia in that one. Cincinnati, Kansas is noon. On Saturday, Kansas favored by 4.5 in that. Duke at Syracuse is noon. Duke favored by 5.5. Louisville at Pitt. is noon Saturday. Louisville favored by 4.5. As we said, LSU, Ole Miss, Auburn, Texas A&M. Those are both at 3:30. Arizona, Iowa State is at 7 o'clock. Iowa State favored by 6.5 in that. BYU, Colorado at 10:15. BYU favored by 7 in that. So like, there's a lot of like touchdown or less games that I do think really matter to playoff discussions and conference races and that kind of thing. But we're just not picking all those. We are picking Alabama, Georgia. We have to pick Alabama, Georgia, right?
We do. Can I ask you a question related to some of the games you just rattled off? And if you don't have a good answer, that's fine. But I have not really paid much close attention to Pitt this year. I just know that Eli Holstein is stinking up the joint.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything that might suggest they make a switch? Because they got that kid from, was it Western Carolina?
Yeah.
Like ran this offense before.
I have not been paying a ton of attention to that either. So I don't know what the Pitt situation is. I thought you were starting to lead us down, like make a switch with Nardog. I thought you were starting a Pat Narduzzi conversation into it. 45 minutes into the pick show.
Again.
Yeah. But like that really matters, right? Like Louisville Pitt, first of all, is a great, moderately regional game in the ACC, but also like super matters for Pitt. I have no opinion.
Okay.
What are we supposed to think about Alabama, Georgia? Who's the good team in this one?
That's actually an interesting question.
Who's good?
I actually think they're both good. Who's better? I'm not entirely sure. I think Kirby might. Does Kirby need it? Kirby's got 2 national title rings, but he has 1-6 against Alabama and lost to Kalen DeBoer last year.
Right.
And now he's at home. So I'm interested if Alabama wins to see what the Kirby-centric talking points might be. Not that, like, he's not on the hot seat, but I just like want to see how people talk about him if he moves to 1-7 against Alabama.
Georgia's 5th in the AP poll. Bama, with that opening loss to Florida State, is 17th. I'm not subscribing to Bama is fixed. They're coming off a bye week, but they beat UL Monroe 73-0, and then they beat just an overwhelmed Wisconsin team 38-14. Are you subscribing to some degree of Bama is fixed?
I am subscribing to the idea of Bama is not as broken as we thought they were because they lost to Florida State.
Okay.
They're getting Jam Miller back at running back. They're getting Tim Keenan back at defensive tackle, who I think has not played this year. He's very good. So they're getting a little healthier at some key spots. Ty Simpson's playing well. And like, granted, it was against Wisconsin, who's not very good, and I forget who their cupcake game was in between, but UL
Monroe, yeah.
UL Monroe, yeah. So I'm not totally out on Bama. I've not had like Bama in our playoff picks or anything like that, but I'm open to the idea of perhaps we were a little too spicy with what we were saying about Alabama after week 1.
Okay. I am keeping the spice on that. I still don't believe in it. They're both coming off weeks last week. And it's one of those things that if Georgia could have kept the momentum going after the overtime win against Tennessee, it's like, oh, maybe here comes Georgia. But now I think, they had a week off for whatever. You can't control that. They should have lost. I mean, they should have lost to Tennessee. It's a miracle that they won that game. Now, they created the miracle. They completed a 4th and 10 pass. They got a 2-point conversion to force overtime. No, they didn't create the entire miracle. The Tennessee kicker just missed a game-winning field goal that he should have made on the last play of regulation, and then Georgia won it in overtime. So I don't think there's a ton of reason to fully believe in either of these teams. And I've had Georgia in my playoff picks. I have not had Alabama. I've continued to have Texas as my SEC champ because I don't think either of these are playing at the level, have played through the first month at the level of what the best team in the SEC should be. Whereas Penn State maybe has looked a little bit off, but I think you can look at Ohio State and you can look at Oregon and say, okay, that's what a best team in a major conference should look like right now. I don't think Bama and Georgia are at that level. So I don't want to pick either of them. I want to pick a tie here as well, but we don't have ties anymore. You're picking Bama, I bet. It's a 3-point spread. Bama is a 3-point underdog. And I bet I bet you're picking Bama.
You are correct. I'm picking Bama in a shootout, 42-41.
Wow. Bama. Oh, that's the magic score. 42-41.
Yeah,
That's the magic
that's
Bill
right.
and Doug score.
Yeah.
We picked that as the score of the Ohio State-Georgia semifinal, and we both nailed it. Independently, not working with each other at the time, picked Ohio State to lose to Georgia 42-41, and we nailed it. You are now picking Georgia to lose by that score. Again, it's at Georgia, and Bama's a dog, so you have the underdog winning. I'm going to pick...
It's like watching Corso put on a mascot head.
Dog mentality. Dog mentality. I don't believe in Gunnar Stockton, but I don't believe in Ty Simpson either. I don't believe in anything.
Georgia believes in Gunnar Stockton.
There's not one part of either of these teams that I believe in. The thing that I would believe in the most, honestly, is Kirby Smart, except he's 1-6 against Bama. Like, I think Kirby Smart runs an embarrassment of a program. Now, I don't know when's the last time a guy got arrested for driving, but I think like that is horrible. I think like the football part of how Kirby Smart runs a program, he's excellent at, but he can't beat Bama, right? Yeah. And so it's just like it's very interesting. And the idea that Kalen DeBoer kept that going last year has to just kill this guy. So I do think that of all the things, Kirby Smart has everything he wants in life, except the better record against Alabama. And if it's stuck in his craw against Saban, it's like he cannot believe he didn't beat Kalen DeBoer last year. So I'm sure Kirby wants a hide.
It's got to be the very similar feeling. Like Kirby Smart and Ryan Day get together and just talk about like, I can't believe I lost to Sharon Moore. I can't believe I lost to Kalen DeBoer, right? Like that guy that I couldn't beat is finally gone and we still lost. So yeah. So which like if Kirby gets an opportunity to put it on Bama, he absolutely will. I just don't know that that'll happen.
Yeah. So I have 35-31 Georgia. So, but my heart's not in it. Thank God. Because I have a northern heart. What can I tell you? All right. Those are our 6 picks. We'll try to be better. We don't want to be wrong. We'll try to be better. But we're here to talk ball and have a good time and not make excuses. Hold us to it. We should be better at this. Although I will say I was looking through like some other people's picks and like, everyone's picking against the spread. And these are our national experts. And they were all like 14 games under 500 against the spread for the year. And I was like, okay, I feel better now. It's hard.
It is weird. Like I think like my personal betting, I'm actually not doing great, but like I don't bet on a lot of these games that we bet. I'm betting like Rice -3.5.
Right. When this is not a Rice pick show. No, this is not a Rice pick show. All right, that's it. We'll see you guys for the watch along for Ohio State, Washington during that game on Saturday. And then we'll see you back for the live post-game show pretty much when Penn State and Oregon and Bama, Georgia end on Saturday night, right? Like in the 11 p.m. range. But if it's a barn burner and there's 2 minutes left, we're going to wait for that game to end. But it'll be live on YouTube. So just subscribe on YouTube so you get an alert when we go live, and then we will put those in your podcast feeds. Thanks you guys for being here. We certainly appreciate it. Go check out roback.com. If you want to check out our Ohio State coverage on our Substack page, you certainly can do that. BillandDougOSU.substack.com. But for now, those are our picks. He's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises. And that was the Bill and Doug Show.